Get ready with me while I talk a little bit more about things that are probably going to get me in trouble. Those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair. I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade. I know. There are a lot of people who are, saying, why didn't you say anything sooner? Okay, let's talk about the satellites again and what Elon had told me about the satellites and the election and his weird ass real-time data that I'm unsure how he had. First of all, I am unaware of any law that says thou shalt not use satellites in elections, okay? At this time, I had just had a child with this man. I did not think it was illegal. It probably isn't, to be honest. I find it strange to be like, why didn't you punch the most powerful, insane people in the face sooner when you have 2 babies to take care of? This isn't just Elon, this is also Trump and the current administration and the people who run quite literally every federal agency, okay? First and foremost, I needed to make sure that I had protections in place, not for myself, but for my babies, who are my entire world, okay? And through a very long, laborious, and painful process, that has been accomplished. And again, I have my second child in September, okay? September of 2024. And while I am in the delivery room alone with my mother, I am getting messages from, if anyone knows, then everyone's gonna die. I don't know. He's like scaring the shit out of me, honestly. But this is how these people operate. They operate through fear. They want you to think that if you speak up, something catastrophic will happen. Yeah. One thing that was interesting about the data, the internal data he sent me from America Pack, one of the charts had, oh my God, had certain milestones, like comparative milestones on it. So they were tracking real-time Delta vote metrics, which again, not sure how you do that before election day, whatever. And they're tracking this and seeing how it changes with the cash prizes Elon is offering, from the I think it was like $47, then they upped it, and then the $1 million prize. So they are tracking this, and he quite explicitly did this to like bribe men to vote, because I was having a conversation with him back in September, and I said, it's ridiculous that they shit on women so much for voting, the way they don't like, because men don't even vote. Like, they don't even vote at the same rate as men. They're just mad that we are better at voting than them. And Elon gets all hyped up and he's like, I will make them vote. I'm the best goddamn general in the world. They just need a carrot. And then he announces this fucking $1 million prize, okay? So there's also a cohort of maggots who are saying that I'm doing this for attention. What the fuck? You think I'm risking my life for attention? I can assure you there are much better ways for me to get attention than, making myself a target from literally the most powerful people in the world, from the White House to Elon Musk, okay? What the fuck is wrong with you people? There's also a cohort of people, like I said, there is a very respectable individual who has the text and documents with the information that I disclosed yesterday. And there's a lot of people who were like, why don't you give this to a big journalist? Why don't you give this to a big outlet? Okay, if you guys don't understand how the media and actual credentialed journalism works, they are not going to run a headline based on my text with Elon, based on my signal messages with Elon. That's not how this works. Real reporting takes a lot of time, okay? But I will say I've had a lot of time over the last year and a half here. There's also a strange cohort who's like, well, you know, I just don't understand how you changed your views. I'm telling you, what do you mean? How are you asking me why I hate capitalism now after I'm telling you that the richest man in the world was texting me about his space lasers for the election? I also think some people just don't, they like to hyperfixate on like the very MAGA things I said, but like back in December of 2024, I was on the same side as Bernie Sanders on the H-1B visa debate and saying that these people just wanted slave labor and indentured servants, okay? I was the biggest opponent on MAGA on the H-1B visa issue. Because I was like, these people, first of all, what's happening now with the H-1B visa body shops is a human civil rights violation. Like, it is disgusting what they're doing to these people. And these corporations just want like low wage slave labor because they're very upset that they're not allowed to have slaves anymore, which is why they're building all these data centers and AI, because they're like, oh, well, you know what? This fucking sucks. If we're not allowed to have slaves, we'll just build them and you all can die. And also, something that was really helpful for me was reading more Black thought leaders. So back in August of 2025, I read a lot of Du Bois and Robinson and Eric Williams, and it just first of all, it confirmed some of the things I was thinking about capitalism and about our current system, but it also just opened my eyes to systems of oppression that I had never seen before. I had never read. You know, I read my first slave narrative at 25, 26. And honestly, if I would have just read these books and listened to the people who have been screaming in the wind, they've been trying to tell us everything that I'm saying to you right now, okay? I can guarantee you there is not a singular Black American who is surprised by what I am telling you right now whatsoever. The people who are like most shocked by this are like the white liberal ladies. They're like very upset. They're like, oh my God, how could they do this? But the Black people are not amused, okay? And I don't mean that like disparagingly about the white liberal ladies, because they've been so sweet. They're like, we feel like we want to take you under our wing and be a mom to you because we're scared for you. And I really do appreciate that. However, I also want people to recognize that there are people who have been saying that these very wealthy elitists are capable of this, and they've done this before. This is most Silicon Valley and Wall Street bros would be very proficient in plantation accounting. This is kind of unrelated, but it just kind of popped into my head, so I'm gonna talk about it. Elon was very manipulative in his relationships, and I noticed this even with people who were like his friends. There's this kid, well, he's a grown-ass man, but he just like looks like a kid. This kid, Andrea Stroppa from Italy, and Andrea got in trouble in Italy for something he was doing with Starlink and Elon's companies. But so I got to know Andrea because he kind of reached out to me and became friends with me. And I was under the impression that he was like a friend of Elon's because Siobhan was inviting him. This was one of the only people invited to Elon's birthday party at their house, whatever. And then he was with Elon a lot. You know, Elon would give him money for different like initiatives in Europe or Italy, whatever. And then after the election, Andrea was like reaching out to me for like access to Mar-a-Lago or something. I forget what it was. And so I text Elon and I'm like, yo, what is the deal with Andrea? Like, why is he texting me for this? Like, I thought you guys were friends. Like, what's going on? And Elon says, he's a super fan, but I don't want to risk turning him into a super enemy. And I was like, does he know this? but then I was like, okay, like, I'll just ignore him. And Elon's like, no, like, don't ghost him. Yada, yada. What the fuck? So this guy's, like, keeping this individual around. And to my knowledge, from my many conversations with Andrea, like, he genuinely thinks him and Elon are friends. Like, genuine friends. Again, he's one of the only people that Siobhan is inviting to Elon's birthday party. That sounds like a friend to me, but then Elon's like, no, he's just a super fan that I don't want to turn into a super enemy. What? I don't have anybody in my life who I hang out with often, all the time. I don't have anybody who's coming to my birthday party at my house with my children that I think is just a super fan that I'm trying to placate and not make into a super enemy. What? There was also a really dumb comment. Someone was like, well, why didn't you call his exes? Why didn't you talk to his exes before? Excuse me, are you like genuinely with a straight face suggesting that I call the exes like of Elon Musk as if they're like fucking job references before I got involved with him? Like, it's giving, what would happen if you just called Taylor up? Now, I should have done more research about their experiences that they talked about here and there, but like, what the fuck? No, I can't just call his exes like this is a job interview, okay? Though I think we should. I really think a lot in society would be much better if it was socially acceptable to call people's exes as if they were job references, okay? It would heal a lot. It would promote better home management because then people are less inclined to have messy breakups with their exes or be insane, you know, whatever. And choose better. There's also a weird cohort of people who are like, oh, she's making this up. Okay, I get it. I'm a little crazy. I'm a little distasteful. But do you really think I'm just making up the things that I'm saying right now? What? No, I have text. He did this over iMessage, okay? This wasn't even Signal. I was like, dude, like, you wanna move apps here? What the fuck are you telling me? There's also, wait 1 second, I can't talk and do this. There's also a lot of people who are like, you need to tell everyone that you'd never harm yourself, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't, okay? But I feel like starting every video out that way just feels like very, conspiratorial. I don't know, it just feels weird. But yeah, I would never do that. I am of sound mind, I think, at least according to my psychiatrist. The Lexapro helps. And my family knows. My family, my friends, like, they know I would never do that. They know how much I love my kids. Like, I would never do that to them. I just wouldn't. So. Now, the Founding Fathers did not have me yapping about my ex-boyfriends in mind when we decided to create the First Amendment. However, what they did have in mind was standing up against systems of power, against corruption, against the government, of which I do think you qualify.